Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Iona Athletics Podcast, your source for all the latest news about the Iona Gaels. I'm your host, Mike Phillips. We've got a good episode for you this week. We're going to be talking in just a bit with Jasmine Fogel, a graduate assistant on the women's basketball team. The women's basketball team has been on the uptick of late. They have been playing much better. We'll catch up with Jasmine, talk about the women's team, talk about when the turning point was, what they look to accomplish as this regular season wraps up. Make sure you stay tuned until the end of our podcast for the upcoming schedule for Iona Athletics. Should be an interesting week this week. We will lay it all out for you at the end of the show, but we will get it all started with our weekly recap of the week that was, and we will get to that right now. We'll start on Monday, February 17th. Last week's guest on the podcast, Elise Darcy from Iona Women's Lacrosse, was named the MAC Defensive Player of the Week. The Iona Athletics podcast bump coming up strong there. We'll go ahead to Tuesday, February 18th. Iona men's water polo earned an ACWPC academic distinction, so good job in the classroom for the men's water polo team. Marnie Skinner from Iona's softball program was announced as a candidate for the Senior Class Award. And Grace Sparrow of Iona Track and Field was named the MAC Track Performer of the Week. It feels like always we have a track and field performer getting that honor for Iona, so this time it's Grace Sparrow's turn. Go to Wednesday, February 19th. Oisin Devereaux was named the MAC Golfer of the Week. Good job for him. Iona men's basketball went on the road, fell at Siena narrowly 65-64. They snapped a 4-game winning streak. E.J. Crawford had 23 points for Iona. The Saints hit a go-ahead free throw with 2.3 seconds to go. Tough loss there for the Gaels, but how they respond, we'll get to that in just a bit. And women's water polo also in action, dropping a close one to number 21 Princeton 12-9. Jordan Van Rieken had 4 goals. Laura Rocket had 2 scores as well. Jordan Hale, 15 saves in the cage for Iona there. We'll go ahead to Thursday, February 20th. Iona women's basketball picked up its 7th MAC win, going ahead and topping the Siena Saints 58-47. Morgan Rayque knocking down 6 3-pointers, 18 points on the game. Monica Bearfield also scored 14 points. Second home victory of the year for the women's basketball program. We'll go to Friday, February 21st. The MAC announced some all-academic teams. Iona women's program had 8 student-athletes honored. The men's teams had 16 student-athletes honored, so congratulations there. Iona softball dropped their season opener to UMBC 5-4. Jessica Chilcott had a triple, homer, 2 RBIs, 2 runs scored in that game. Men's basketball win an absolute thriller at home against Rider, 70-69 the final score there. E.J. Crawford had a game-high 22 points, but this one will be remembered for Isaiah Ross hitting the game-winning 3-point shot with 12 seconds to go, putting the Gaels up for good. Huge effort there from Iona, and a big win as they sweep the Bronx in the regular season. We'll go ahead to the baseball team as well. They dropped their series opener against New Mexico State 7-5. Jake Liberatore, Tyler Cannon each homered in the loss. We head to Saturday, February 21st. We'll go back to the baseball team. They dropped a pair to the Aggies. Game 1, they lost 9-6. Game 2, 8-1. Derek Becker, Jim Pasquale each had 3 runs batted in for the Gaels over the course of the 2 games. The softball team split a doubleheader at the Chanticleer Showdown down in South Carolina. Game 1, Coastal Carolina picked up a 2-0 win over Iona. Alana Evans tossed 4 2/3 innings, allowed 2 runs. Kara Zazzaro, 1 1/3 innings of scoreless relief. Game 2, Iona wins 12-10 over UMBC. The first win of the year for the Gaels softball team. Jessica Chilcott had 1 hit, 2 runs scored, 2 walks, 4 runs batted in. Kayleen Walter had 3 hits, a run scored, 4 RBIs in that game. Finally, we'll go ahead to Sunday, February 22nd. The Iona softball team dropped actually, before we get to Sunday, I want to mention one more thing here. Women's water polo wins a pair up the Courtney Fisher Invite up in Poughkeepsie. They beat Villanova 14-12. They beat St. Francis Brooklyn for the first time 12-4. With the victories, Coach Brian Kelly was a guest on this podcast earlier this year, was named as he became the winningest coach in Iona program history. Congrats to Coach Kelly for that incredible accomplishment. Now let's go ahead to Sunday, February 22nd. Iona softball dropped the final game of its weekend tournament against Seton Hall 4-3. The Pirates hit 3 solo homers in the late innings to get the win. Iona threw 3 pitchers in the game: Alana Evans, Marnie Skinner, Cara Cesaro. Women's basketball hit the road, lost to Ryder in Lawrenceville 53-41. Juana Camilion had 11 points in 36 minutes of action. The Bronx pulled away in the second half, outscored the Gaels 16-9 in the fourth to make it a win for the Bronx, a season sweep in women's basketball. Iona baseball wrapped up the weekend against New Mexico State, dropped the finale 18-4. Jake Field and Brian Bacone each had home runs. It was the first collegiate home run for Brian Bacone. And finally, we'll wrap up the Iona MAC Indoor Track and Field Championship. The men's team placed third at the championship. Jack Hopkins, who we spoke to during the cross-country season back in the fall on this podcast, was named the MAC Co-Track Most Outstanding Performer of the championship. Iona has won this track Most Outstanding Performer for 3 straight seasons. Jack Hopkins won the 3,000-meter race and was part of the winning DMR team. Iona now taking spots 1 to 5 in the 3K race as well. Iona swept the podium in the mile, with Jack O'Leary taking first place, and Jerome Solis won the 200-meter sprint in 22.05 seconds. The women's team placed fourth in the championships. Egle Morinete, who we spoke to a couple of weeks ago on the podcast, named the MAC Track Most Outstanding Performer of the championship. Iona has won that one on the women's side for 2 straight seasons. Morinete won the 5K and the 3K races. She set new MAC records in each. Gemma Nuttall also won the women's mile race, and Caitlin Ortman finished third in the same race. So great accomplishments all around for the track and field program. And that will do it for the week that was in Iona Athletics. Up next, our interview with Jasmine Fogel from the women's basketball program right after this. All right, we are back here on the Iona Athletics podcast. Joining us on the phone today is the graduate assistant for the women's basketball team, Jasmine Fogel. Jasmine, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Thanks for having me, Mike. I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's been a fun year to watch the women's team, but before we get to them, can you tell me a little bit about what you do as the graduate assistant on the program?
Of course. So I basically assist the coaches with anything that's needed. Basically like another advocate for the girls, with just finishing playing college basketball. I know what they're going through, time in and time out, just to be there to support them and just make sure everything goes well. I assist the coach with anything that she asks me to do, individuals, or if it's just rebounding for one of the players while they're shooting. I'm all hands on deck. Anything they ask me to do, I'm there for it.
Yeah, that's definitely a good function to have. And I had a chance to speak to Coach Chambers early in the year. She was a lot of fun on our conversation. What's it like working with her every day?
Oh, she's awesome. She's a great individual, a great human being. Heart of gold, to be honest. She's not just worried about what's going on the court, but off the court as well. She's just invested into anybody who works with her, comes across paths with her. She's a great person to be around with and work every day. I'm so honored, and it's a great opportunity to be able to work with her and the other coaching on our staff. So it's definitely been a great experience. I literally, it's crazy because when I first got there, within the week, I feel like all of us connected as if we've been working with each other for years. So it's just that family connection that we have, and the vibe that she brings every day just brings us closer every day.
It absolutely is. And you mentioned you were here last year when things were not so great for the basketball teams. They've already done very well this year. It's surpassed their win total from a year ago. So as somebody who's been here both these years, what's a big difference you've seen with this team?
Well, last year, we brought in myself as the first year. They brought in 2 other coaches as their first year as well. And they brought in a lot of girls to the team. So this year everybody's back basically, including Lucia and Deja. Paula sat out for a couple for the whole season, and she got to see things from the bench side and what she can do when she gets out there. Everybody says we're a young team, but bringing back everybody makes it seem like we're a veteran team. We're still learning, still make mistakes, but like I said, we're still learning and going on with our process. But the fact that we went through adversity last year and dealt with the losses, and were able to pick up the pieces to, make a little playoff run, that just gave us momentum for the next year. gave us a lot of expectations for this year to come, and we just worked all summer and worked all preseason to get to where we need to be. And I think just bringing back everybody and everybody understanding our culture and what is expected for this season, it just was a great opportunity for us to make our run.
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that stuck out to me this year is that you guys are very, very good on the road. This Gaels are 6-4 away from the Hines this year. So why do you think this group has done so well on the road this year?
Oh, I think we just go into every arena that we've been in away, and just with that chip on our shoulder, everybody is looking to beat us. Everybody is doubting us that we can't get the job done, and we just go there, we play together, and we just make it work. I don't think it has anything to do with being away and being home. Our home games, we just kind of struggled to close out some of the close games due to foul trouble or due to turnovers, and kind of got us our couple losses at home. But like I said, we're learning, and we are trying to we figured out our mistakes and just putting the pieces together. Limiting our turnovers, getting more assists, staying out of foul trouble is our key main things that we can do to control our end, and then we get that win.
Yeah, this year did not start out great, but they've been playing much better since the New Year. Is there one game you think was the turning point for this group that sort of said, you know what, we can really do this?
I definitely think the Canisius game away. We went 2-0 in Buffalo, and the Canisius game started it, and it came from everyone. I think everyone finally can see that it doesn't take one person to get it done. All of us on this team together gets that job done, and that Canisius game was a little rough because we had our captain go out, Tori. She went out with 45 seconds left in the fourth quarter, and at that time it was a tied game. And we could have folded and just felt sorry for Tori in that moment, or we could have been like, you know what, we got this. We're gonna win this game for Tori, and we're gonna get it done together. And that's exactly what we did. We had Gabby knock down some key free throws. Monica stepped up and knocked down some free throws as she subbed in for Tori. Juana played awesome that game, and it just shows that it doesn't take one person. All of us together can get the job done together. And I think that was our turning point, because the next game, 2 days later, we played Niagara, and everybody who played that game scored. Everybody contributed in some type of way. And since then, we've just been making our run.
Yeah, you have making your run. I think you mentioned her already. One player's making a very key role in this run is Iona Iona. And as we're recording on Monday the 18th, 17th, I don't have the date right, excuse me about that, guys, but she's really stepped up of late. She scored at least 10 points in 8 straight games. How important is she to this team?
She's our advocator on the court. She knows every player knows exactly where everyone needs to be, so everybody respects her and everybody listens to her, and she just gets it done. She creates for everyone on the court. She's a great kid. She has a bright future ahead of her for sure. But she just makes sure that everybody knows their role and in their place, and she stepped up big for us the past couple of games. But like I said, it's definitely been a team effort, and they're just they're all working together, and we're all putting the pieces together. And everybody's knowing their role and knowing what they can contribute to this team, and that's what's been making us successful to make our run.
Yeah, it has been a fun run to watch. And as we approach the end of the regular season, what do you think the team has to do to keep building on this recent success?
We got to keep playing together. That's the number one thing. It's not going to take one person to get us all the way to the championship. It's going to take a group effort, and I think our girls have seen that these past couple of games, and seen that if we play together, we limit our turnovers, we get more assists, we stay out of foul trouble, just play to our standard, we're going to be great, and we're going to be just fine. And I really believe that this spark that we've got going now is going to be very beneficial for us before conference play starts. But in and on a winning streak and keep it going, I think we'll be just fine.
All right, there you have it. Jasmine Fogel from the women's basketball program. They have a couple of games left in the year, and hoping make a big run in the MAC tournament. Jasmine, thanks for the time today, and best of luck the rest of the way.
Of course, no problem. Thanks for having me. Thank you.
All right, and there you have it. That was Jasmine Fogel from the women's basketball program. For our full interview with Jasmine Fogel, check out our YouTube page, youtube.com/ICGales.
Sunday, Monday, happy days. Tuesday, Wednesday, happy days. Thursday, Friday, happy days. The weekend comes
right, we are back with the upcoming schedule for Iona Athletics as we wrap up the month of February. Let's go to Wednesday, February 26th. The women's lacrosse team is home again, hosting Central Connecticut at 3 at Mazzella Field. We'll go ahead to Thursday, February 27th. The Canisius Golden Griffs, the common opponent for the Gaels on this day. Men's basketball heading up to Canisius as day one of their Buffalo trip begins. Women's basketball will be hosting the Golden Griffs at 7 at the Hines Athletic Center. One of the last 2 home games for the Lady Gaels, so please come on down, support the team there. We'll go ahead to Friday, February 28th. The track and field program will be sending some runners up to the Boston Last Chance meet, while baseball begins a weekend series at George Mason, Game 1 on Friday. We'll go ahead to Saturday, February 29th. Women's water polo will be at the Wolverine Invitational Ann Arbor. First up, a game against Bucknell. Lacrosse is home on Saturday as well. They're hosting Lafayette at 1 at Mazzella Field. Men's basketball continues the Buffalo trip. Game number 2 at Niagara. Women's basketball hits the road. They take on the Saints of Siena. Baseball, game 2 of their weekend set with George Mason. That will be on Saturday the 29th. And women's water polo will wrap up the day with a matchup against Santa Clara at the Wolverine Invitational. And finally, on Sunday, March 1st, Wolverine Invitational again. Women's water polo will be taking on the host school, Michigan. They're also taking on St. Francis University, that in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And baseball concludes their weekend series with George Mason. Final game on Sunday, March 1st. Hard to believe it's already March, and that will do it for the upcoming week in Iona Athletics. For all the latest game times, information, and news about the Iona Athletic program, be sure to visit our website, www.icgaels.com. You can also follow us on social media. Just search for our handle at @ICGales across all major platforms. Be sure you stick around next week for another brand new episode of the Iona Athletics podcast. But until then, keep fighting the good fight, Gael Nation.
Fighting the good fight. Keep letting your light shine.